We saw the iframe example. Now we'll look at an important attribute of the anchor tag, the link tag. So we have this anchor tag. I'm gonna take this out. By default, the target is self. So the attributes in the HTML tags, some of the attributes have a default value, meaning if whether I give this or not, the effect is all the same. So by default, target is self. So what does self do? Now, when you click to take me to data science, the whole page changes. So the take me to data science is inside main.html, and that is where this will take into effect. Okay. So I'm gonna remove this. So even when I remove this and click on take me to data science, it's gonna do the same. So the default option for target is the self option. Now, not just the target, I mean, we also saw on the background image, the repeat option, the background repeat option was by default repeat. So some attributes have a default option. I mean, almost most of the attributes have it. So they have a default option. So we'll look at what else this target can do. Now, when I just give a blank value to it, when you give it blank, it actually opens it in a new tab. I'll show you to you again. So it's blank. It opens in a new tab. So that's what blank does. Now I have to show you two other attribute values of this target. So I'm gonna create a new HTML, which I'm gonna call level1.html. Another one could be level2.html. So in the level1.html, I'm gonna have a tag. I'm also going to have an anchor tag. This is the level 1, and the URL is going to be artificial intelligence. Okay, so I named it here. So what I'm going to do is, for the SRC, instead of giving a URL, I'm going to say the SRC is level 1 HTML. Okay, so what happens? So if you see, okay, let me take this out so that you could see the border. See, so what we are looking at now is main.html. Within the main.html, there's an iframe called level1.html. Okay, so this is level 1. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have another iframe which will point to level2.html. Within the level2.html, we'll have another link. So I'll say level 2 DS stands for data science. Now the href would be for data science. This is it. Okay. So if you see, main.html has an iframe which points to level1.html. Level1.html has an iframe which points to level2.html. So when I refresh, this is what happens. Okay, let me try to resize this a bit. Put this in a para. So what I'm seeing is this is level 1, this part, and then the iframe appears. Okay, this is not a good practice, but for time being, I'm gonna use this. Okay, so I'll explain what we do here. In main.html, I have an iframe called level1.html. So that is what you see here. And also there is a link called take me to data science in main.html. In level1.html, I say that this is level 1 and I have a link which takes to artificial intelligence, and there is a iframe too. Now within this iframe, this iframe is pointing to level2.html, and level 2 has this text and the anchor tag. Okay, so that's what we do. Now main.html, I'm going to remove the target. So what happens when you remove the target? This becomes self now. The target is self now. So when I click at it, whichever HTML it's inside, that's going to take effect. So we move to the data science. So that's what it does, right? Okay. Now we'll see what happens when I click on this, the level 1. When I click on that, level 1 HTML was this iframe, right? So that is what redirected to artificial intelligence now. I will show you again. This part is level 1 HTML. So when I click on that, only this level 1.html was redirected to artificial intelligence. Now we have a level 2. When I click on that, only that part was moved. Let me have a width and height for the iframe. I think we increase more. See, this has changed. So because by default, the anchor tag takes target as self. Now, there is 2 attributes I need to show. That is why I'm trying to do this main and level 1 and level 2. Target as parent. When I change the target as parent of this one, what happens is, who's level 1's parent, which is the main.html. So when I click on this link, the main.html will be affected. So that will be redirected to this URL. So that's what parent does. Now, let me do the same thing here. I'm going to say target is parent. So when you do that here, when I click here, level 1 is the parent of this. So level 1 was what was changed. Main.html is still there. Now, there is something called target as top. So when you do that, whoever is at the top level, meaning level 2's parent is level 1, level 1's parent is main doesn't have a parent now. So the main will affect now. So that's the difference. So we have 4. Self is, when you self is default, when you give self, it will just, whichever HTML file you are in, that will be redirected to the link. When you give blank, it opens a new tab. When you give parent, it just changes its parent where this iframe is being held. When you give top, it'll take the topmost HTML and redirect to it. So an anchor tag might look simple, but all these attributes are very handy. It is not complex, it is very handy. So you could use that. But these top attributes and parent attributes you might not use much because iframe is a practice which many don't approve at all. So you might most probably use self and blank.